All right, gentlemen, let's talk about work ethic for a minute. Work ethic is something that is missing in men in the church, primarily because men think they can replace the need to work hard with this idea that they're spiritual beings or that they are focused on spiritual matters, on heavenly things, when that's not the case. They're simply using that as an excuse to avoid any kind of hard labor. They do the same thing with material success, success in the secular marketplace, which is a topic in and of itself that we'll cover, but they attempt to use virtue to justify poverty. They use their lack of success to say, I am not successful because I am focused on spiritual matters. What I tend to find is that the same people who say that they're focused on spiritual matters, they'd rather have spiritual success than material success, are the people who say that they'd rather have brains than brawn. And it just so happens that the people who say either of those things have neither. So let's talk about work ethic and in the context of being a Christian man and work ethic. So what does the Bible have to say first and foremost? We always start with our authority. Colossians 3:23 says, "And whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men." So note that it says whatever you do. Not just your secular marketplace work, not just your Bible study, but everything. Everything must be done heartily as to the Lord and not to men. What does this mean? What it means is that if a Christian man is following this to a T, he should have the maximum work ethic. He should be blowing every task out of the water. But he's not, because most people don't work to the Lord and not to men. Most people don't work heartily. They do what's necessary to get by because they lack work ethic. Now, I'm going to give you an idea about work ethic that I have come up with. It is not the only perspective on work ethic. Never accept just one perspective on anything you believe in life. But we're going to talk about work ethic here, and I'm going to call this a pyramid of work ethic. We'll put up a picture. I'll show you what I think composes work ethic and what the most important piece of work ethic is. All right, so let's start with a quick definition of work ethic. Now, this is a definition I stole from the Valuetainment's breakdown of what work ethic is. So I'll link that video here so you can watch that. That's very important. But let's just break down the words. These are just like they were broken down in that previous video. So work is an activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. So work is an activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. Ethic is a set of moral principles. So what does ethic have to do with work? Well, moral principles, moral is a person's standard of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. Again, moral, a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. So that's what it is. It's what is our personal standard of mental or physical effort. So let's talk about that here. What we have here, this is my triangle, my pyramid of work ethic composed of 3 parts, 2 of which are not important without the one. So let's just start with output in the bottom right. So output, this is the results. This is whatever is generated, the end state. At the end of the day, what did you produce? Production. That's output. Now, output's a component of work ethic, but in and of itself, it is not reflective of work ethic. So it's not always guaranteed to be a part of what work ethic is. And this is demonstrated. Take, for example, a student who has straight A's. So the straight A's are the output. Does that necessarily mean he put forth massive effort, had a massive work ethic, worked really hard to get those A's? No. He could be gifted, he could be very smart, very intelligent, and didn't have to work hard at all. If a person doesn't have to work hard at all and they make straight A's, do they have good work ethic? Or are they just riding the tailcoats of their natural abilities? I think the answer is pretty easy there. So output alone is not indicative of work ethic. Now, we'll see at the end of the day when we combine these 3 items, output, duration, and effort, that output does start to play a big part in work ethic. So let's go on to the next component, the bottom left, duration. This is how long you're working. Now, I've said this many times, but how long you work is only impressive. It's only as impressive as how hard you are working. So take, for example, endurance athletes. Endurance is only as impressive as the pain of that which you endure. For example, say that someone runs a marathon, but they take 8 hours to run that marathon. Now, they ran for a really long time, but they weren't running very hard, were they? No, they were clocking in just over 3 miles an hour. That's not impressive at all. Even people who run really slow marathons know that that is not impressive. There were a few men in 2019 who completed a marathon in 2 hours. They maintained a 13-mile-an-hour pace for 2 solid hours. Now that's impressive. That is effort. So duration alone is not always a component of work ethic. There are people who are spending hours and hours and hours, quote unquote, working, but not getting any results, i.e. output. They're not generating any output, and they're not putting in any effort. That's a huge problem. There are, especially in school with students, medical students, graduate students, these people are spending hours upon hours at work, quote unquote, studying, when they could cut that time in half if they were to increase the effort. On to effort then. Effort is the last component of work ethic. And I think this is the root of all work ethic. If you were to go onto YouTube, onto the internet, wherever, look up work ethic, how to increase work ethic, everything that you could find, if you were to list everything you ever found in 20 pages of Google of work ethic, if you were to distill out the common factor, effort would be present in every one of them. And by effort, every one of those tactics, every one of those quote-unquote hacks for improving your work ethic could be increased. Effort is the root of all work ethic. It is the only thing that you can control every single time. You can always control how much effort you are putting into a certain endeavor. So the only time output or duration can actually be factored into a person's work ethic is if they are already giving a massive effort. Without effort, it doesn't matter how long you work. It doesn't matter how much output you're generating, because that could all be increased by more effort. If you're producing $1 million of output in your business, but you're not giving effort, then you're limiting yourself on that output. You could up the output by another $1 million or 10 or 20. Effort is always going to be the choke point between the results you want. So at the end of the day, it's your effort that counts. It's only once the effort is high that duration or output can be factored into the work ethic equation. So what does this mean for us as Christian men? It means at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, at any point in the day, we need to be putting forth a max effort. That's in that verse, Colossians 3:23. It says, whatever you do, do it heartily. Do it with a strong ethic, a strong effort. Actually try to make a difference. Actually try to put forth some effort into the work you're doing. That is what's going to be noticed. It's not talent, and it's not always results. All of those things can be overshadowed by a person's lack of work ethic. So study the work ethic pyramid. Think about it. Think about what you think about it. Leave your comments below in the comment section. What else could be added to work ethic? What else could be added to the work, to the mental or physical effort that is done in order to achieve a purpose or result? If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Please leave a comment below. And as always, conduct yourselves like men.